Welcome back to Straight Talk. I'm Laurel Porter. We're bringing you highlights from this week's KGW Oregonian debate between Governor Kate Brown and Representative Knute Buehler. The question that got the most social media response came from one of our viewers on vaccinations. The exchange between Brown and Buehler has been viewed more than 55,000 times.
Hi, my name is Nicole. My question is, do you believe that parents have a right to make medical decisions for their children, including how and when they decide to vaccinate their children?
Do you have a certain age on that question?
We don't, but I think talking about vaccination, you know, they start pretty early.
So in terms of vaccination, I think one of the challenges we have, and we have a fairly a law that protects parents' right to vaccinate their children in this state. I think the challenges that we are seeing is that we have a number of communicable diseases that are impacting our communities around the United States because parents haven't been vaccinating. So I would say we probably give some parents a little too much leeway. If we want to make sure that we're protecting public health, we want to make sure that our children have the vaccinations that they need.
Representative.
Yeah. As a physician, I certainly believe in the benefits of vaccination, but I also think that parents should have the right to opt out for personal beliefs, religious beliefs, or even if they have strong alternative medical beliefs, and that has been beneficial. I think that gives people option and choice, and that's the policy I would continue to pursue as Oregon's governor.
Hillary.
All right, well, I'm going to shift gears here to talk a little bit about transportation. So Representative Buehler, after years of planning and $200 million that was spent by the state of Oregon, the Columbia River crossing was scrapped 5 years ago. But in the last month, there has been renewed interest from several politicians to revive that I-5 bridge project. Do you think the state should re-engage and invest billions in new money in a bridge between Vancouver and Portland?
Yeah. Certainly there has been underinvestment in Oregon's transportation infrastructure for decades. Our bridges, our roads, our ports. And unfortunately, the Columbia River Crossing project spent nearly $300 million and not a single shovel of dirt was turned. Unfortunately, Governor Brown, when she was Secretary of State, didn't even look into that situation. It was her duty as head of audits. But we do need to invest more in our infrastructure. I voted against the transportation package this last legislative session, or the 2017 session, because I didn't think it had enough investment for these types of important projects, especially for the Portland metro area. And I knew also that Governor Brown's policy was to bake into that legislation tolling. Tolling, importantly, not to build new bridges, like I think we should build a new bridge across the Columbia, but tolling to change people's behavior, to get them out of their vehicles and not to add capacity. I'm against tolling for that purpose.
Governor, go ahead.
Yes, I think that before we move forward on the Columbia River crossing, I want to see Washington meeting two criteria: that they are really serious about fixing the bridge and investing in that bridge, and secondly, that it includes public transit, particularly light rail. I think it's critically important that we make the seismic retrofitting needed on our bridges because I saw what happened in Minneapolis when the 35W bridge went down. People were killed. None of my family was injured, fortunately. But as governor, I think it is my responsibility to make sure Oregonians are safe. My opponent voted against this transportation package, a bipartisan package, to invest in seismic resilience in our roads and bridges. I don't know what he'd use to fix the Columbia River crossing since he's taking a no new taxes pledge. Scotch tape?
You've likely seen the deluge of campaign ads focused on education. That's because Oregon's graduation rate is stuck near the bottom of the country year after year, which I asked Governor Brown about. Governor, every election we hear candidates say education is their top priority, and they promise to improve the graduation rate. Yet in the 18 years I've lived in Oregon, It has not significantly improved. Under your watch, our graduation rate is still third from the bottom. What's going to be different if you're reelected? And can you give us a number? Where do you want the graduation rate to rank? What's achievable by the end of your term?
Well, this is an issue, as you know, that Oregon has struggled with for decades, and it's absolutely unacceptable. I know what it feels like to have a child in my home not graduate from high school. We were fortunate. We had the tools and the resources they needed to make sure they got their GED, but not every family has that. On my watch, we've certainly made progress, but it's not enough. We saw the highest improvement in high school graduation rates since we started keeping track in 2017, and our communities of color saw a 7% increase in their high school graduation rates as a result of significant investments we made in those communities. Moving forward, we need to make sure that every single high school student has access to career and technical education, and that we fully fund ballot measure 98. I know firsthand from the students that I've seen the importance of having hands-on learning. That means they get engaged in the classroom. They want to stay in school, and it connects the classroom to career, and they want to graduate, and it develops a skilled and qualified workforce.
Can you give us a number, a graduation rate ranking by the end of your term? Middle of the pack, top third?
85% 2022.
Representative?
Well, the hesitancy to give you a number, Laurel, just shows the lack of leadership from the governor with regards to this important issue. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, she said she has no control over this issue, even though she is superintendent and head of public schools and controls almost 70% of the budget that goes to our schools. It is the single biggest failure of Governor Brown is her indifference to fix our public schools. I will do it. I will lead where Governor Brown has not. And importantly, the biggest problem we need to face and solve is our classroom funding crisis, meaning not enough of the dollars are getting into kids in classroom learning to improve our graduation rate because it's going to a broken pension system. Now, Governor Brown has not been able to talk to her most potent allies to fix this problem, to fix the status quo. She won't, I will.
Where will the graduation rate rank by the end of your term if you're elected?
Yeah, my vision is as ambitious but achievable. I'll lead Oregon schools from the bottom 5 in the nation. And yes, even though Governor Brown says there's been progress, we have the 3rd worst still in the country. I'll lead Oregon schools from the bottom 5 in the nation to the top 5 in 5 years.
Finally tonight, the response to a video question from a member of the public. He asked if the candidates are concerned about the leadership of President Trump.
Certainly, President Trump doesn't provide a model of leadership for me. The political divisive speech, and for that matter, tweets, I do not find appealing. I think leaders bring people together. They unite people around a common goal, and importantly, they build bridges, not walls. And it's why I've spoken out against President Trump's not only politically divisive speech, but many of his policies with regards to immigration, climate change, cutting of Medicaid. I'll lead with open mind, a caring heart, and a thoughtful voice. I'll be an independent governor who will lead for all of Oregonians, no matter who you are, where you live, who you love, and no matter if you're registered to vote as a Democrat, Independent, or Republican. That's true leadership, and leadership takes on these big, important issues that Governor Brown has avoided, ignored, and quite frankly, made a lot worse in her time in office.
Governor.
Yes, I think it's really important that the governor speak out whenever this president stomps on Oregonians or Oregon values. And there are many issues: immigration, health care, the environment. In terms of health care, when this administration tried to repeal the Affordable Care Act, literally stripping out health care from 430,000 Oregonians, we fought back with every tool in our toolbox. We showed them that as a result, we have many Oregonians with health care, but also it created over 23,000 jobs. Now they're trying to take away health care from Americans with chronic heart conditions, with pre-existing conditions. I find this unacceptable. I talked to a young man by the name of Jacob. He's so talented. He has a chronic heart disease. this administration would rip health care away from him. Oregon won't let that happen, but the rest of the country will. I will continue to fight this administration until every Oregonian has access to the health care they need to lead healthy and productive lives.
If you live in Oregon, be sure to register to vote before October 16th. That's Tuesday. If you're in Washington, you can still register in person until October 29th. Join us next week for a debate between candidates for Portland City Council, Loretta Smith and Joanne Hardesty. We'll see you next week for Straight Talk.